Good morning, all of you. I hope you can hear me now. So let's begin now. But today's presentation topic is research process. Research process. Research is a series of actions or steps that are effectively performed in a specific order necessary to carry out research. Before we go for research process, we should we should understand what is research. Research is uh, refinement of existing knowledge, any knowledge which is existing and we want to further investigate. So the task or the process is referred as research. Here we can see a series of actions or steps that are effectively performed in a specific order. So order is important. Unlike any other process, if we miss this order or sequence, so research does not remain effective. So now we will move to steps of research process. Selecting a topic, defining the research problem, objective of research, review of literature, working hypothesis, preparing research design, sample design, data collection, data entry, data analysis and hypothesis testing, generalization and interpretation, preparation of thesis or report. So these are the essential steps in research process, which we will discuss in remaining slides. Selecting a topic. Following factors are to be considered. Relevance. See, the topic must be relevant and contemporary. Otherwise, research will not have any meaning. Second thing, the topic must be interested to researcher. Until and unless topic is interested, the flow and the rhythm can't be maintained throughout research process by researcher. Next is whether the problem is already researched before. See, any problem which is not addressed earlier becomes invention or discovery, not research. So if problem already searched by someone and we want to further investigate, that is the only research. Next is feasibility of the topic. See, we can't take any research topic which is not feasible in terms of economic resources, in terms of technical viability, in terms of operations. So it must be feasible considering all dimensions. Next is scope. See, for any research, data is a must. So if data is not available or you are not supposed to get in future, so it's not wise to investigate that topic. Contribution to knowledge in a specific field. See, we should have a specific field from which we have to take topic. Sometimes topic we can take interdisciplinary kind of or multidisciplinary kind of, but there must be some specific domain. Next, the required cooperation from the stakeholders. See, many times when we conduct research, there are some subject, some stakeholders. So whether we are going to get support from all stakeholders or there may be some possibility that some of the stakeholders may create hurdle. In that case, you will stick in the middle and you will not be able to complete your research. So you have to understand in the beginning that yes, all stakeholders, be it society, be it your funding agency or your research guide in case of you're doing for a degree, so support is there. Practical utility of the topic selected. See, many times research involves lot of efforts, lot of time, energy, and many times resources as well. So it should give some value. It must give some utility to the society. Next, defining the research problem. See, research problem should be clearly defined. Until you define research problem clearly, you can't go further. So there are different types of research which are classified considering various grounds. So basic criteria what we follow is three types of research. These are exploratory, descriptive, and causal. Exploratory is fundamental research. For example, if you see science E is equal to mc square given by Einstein, relations between velocity and mass, velocity of light and mass. So it is fundamental. Fundamental research is referred as exploratory, which is based for several other research, and it is basic theory in any discipline of learning. Descriptive research is something which is having limited scope for generalizability, whereas we are having exploratory, it is a universal principle everywhere existing. It holds everywhere. But in case of descriptive, it has limited generalizability, and application of these principles are limited to a particular geographical area. Third one is causal. Here we try to find out relationship between variables, two or more variables, and we identify which variable is dependent and which variable is independent. So relationship between dependent and independent variable is causal research. This research problem gives proper direction to the researcher that how that researcher is going to proceed in future. Objectives of research. See, objective should be clear and precise. The topic, we derive our objectives from the topic itself. Topic is in itself single phrase, whereas we get more than one objectives for that research, that what will be our boundary wall for pursuit of knowledge. What does the researcher aims to achieve through research? Means what is exactly research is trying to do. So that should be covered in objective. It gives the extent to which the research work is related to the specific field. Review of literature. It is very important and painful step in the research process. Reviewing the existing books, you all know, journals, having research papers, contemporary research papers, we should always refer to latest journals while we are trying to review the literature. Reports given by government agencies, NGOs, or any other uh, trustworthy sources. Then conference proceedings. These are also very important for review. PhD thesis and online resources. See, review of literature give us clear-cut picture that what is already researched, means in particular domain, in particular area, how much research already has been done and what is scope remaining for further research. So through review of literature, we find out gaps that yes, in this area, less work has been done so far, so we can take up this area. So review of literature is simply a path that how and where we can contribute to generate new knowledge. Next one is development of working hypothesis. See, in every research, it is not necessary that we will have working hypothesis or hypothesis, because so many researchers which are having only research questions don't having any hypothesis. So it is possible. But wherever we are having hypothesis, hypothesis should have certain properties. Like a proposition, hypothesis is a proposition, a tentative assumptions which a researcher wants to test for its logical or empirical consequence. And it must be stated in precise and clearly defined terms. See, hypothesis must be precise and clear. And when we talk about statistical hypothesis, it should have relationship between variables. Assertive statements or negative statement, it can't be question. It is only assertive or negative statement which we are trying to test. See, a tentative statement that can either be accepted or rejected after the data analysis. So hypothesis, we are having two types of hypothesis: null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis. There is a serious misconception among researchers that we have two types of hypothesis: null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis, and they think that these are opposite to each other. But the reality is that these two types of hypotheses are not opposite to each other, but complementary to each other. So whatever we are having perception or whatever we are having projection through literature review, that yes, for example, we believe that one hypothesis, Ram is a good person. So it could be a hypothesis which may be true or may not be true. So if we believe through literature review or expert opinion that Ram is a good person, in that case we will have hypothesis Ram is not a good person, because we try to reject null hypothesis so that our outcome should be precise and meaningful. And of course, in any pursuit of research, there may be more than one hypothesis. Preparing research design. Research design is everything which is pending in research process after literature review. Basically, it has a main component of sampling, which we will discuss later. A logical and systematic plan prepared for directing a research study. Program that guides the investigator or researcher in the process of collecting, analyzing, and interpreting data. Research design gives us a blueprint that how will we proceed further to complete our research. Sample design. All items in any field of inquiry constitute a universe or population. Here population referred as statistical term. See, when we when we want to conduct any research, we always have our area, that this particular area may be in terms of geography, in terms of physical presence, anything. So that complete area referred as universe or population. Complete enumeration of all items in the population is known as census inquiry. When we take observation or data from each and every unit of population, then it is referred as census. In census, no chance error. See, we don't miss any item, any respondent in census, so chance error is not there. And of course, it gives highest accuracy. In that case, we don't use any statistical test, and whatever we infer, it is with 100% confidence. But sometimes it's not possible to go for censuses when a population is very large, and whenever we are going for any research, many times we are having limited resources in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of human resource support. So it is not possible to go for census always. That's why then as a alternative, we go for sampling. Census involves great deal of time, money, and energy. Yeah, this is demerit of this uh, census. Fraction of population for data collection referred as sampling, which leads to selection of few respondents. So instead of going for all respondent in population or universe, if we take any fraction, a segment from population to get our data, to collect our data, then it is referred as sampling. In sampling, the selected respondent constitutes sample. So those elements or respondents which are selected for data collection purpose, these are referred as sample. The selection process is referred as sampling technique. Survey conducted on the sample is called sample survey. Methods of sampling. We are having so many types of uh, uh, sampling, but we are all are classifying in two categories: probability and non-probability sampling. Probability sampling includes simple random sampling, stratified sampling, and non-probability sampling is including quota sampling, snowball sampling, convenience sampling. These are used. So these all techniques are having their own merits and demerits, and these techniques are having applicability. But one thing I will make clear at this point, that people sometimes insist that random sampling is better. There is nothing like better or worst when we talk about sampling methods or techniques. See, it depends on our situation, our state, that which particular type of sampling should be used. Suppose if we are not having sampling frame, list of all respondents from where we want to select randomly, if it is not available, then we can't go for probability sampling. In that case, we have to go only for convenience sampling. But if sampling frame is available, list of all respondents is available, then we can randomly select some of them. So that is the thing. Now, data collection. Data collection is very important step in case of social science research. Whether we use qualitative research or quantitative research, in each case we have to collect data. First thing we should understand that we have two options for data collection. We can go for secondary data. Secondary data means any data which is already available and compiled by someone else for some other purpose, and we are going to use that. Second option is primary data. Primary data, researcher by oneself has to collect data for a specific purpose, and this is something very important, that if we use primary data, the results are supposed to be better than the case of secondary data, because secondary data is collected for some other purpose and it may not fit to your requirement. So in that case, some biasness, some variations may be there. So it is advised to use primary data if feasibility is there. Now, primary data can be collected through different methods. Direct observation. See, sociological or of anthropological studies, you will find that direct observation is important. We take interview, or we can take direct observation, we record, we interview. So, see, direct observation gives a benefit that you can interact with your respondent. Personal interview, telephoning interview, these can be used, and here you can use structured question or unstructured question. Means that in case of interviews, researcher can ask predefined questions or can give freedom to respondent that where it wants to go. Means some direction may be taken from respondent as well. Now, but questionnaire and schedules, these tools are frequently used in social science research, especially some of the disciplines like economics, commerce, management, and some other uh, disciplines use these tools frequently. The merit of questionnaire and schedule is that you can predefine your questions. If it is structured, you can have uh, options or values for those questions also. So the analysis of questionnaire and schedule is easier than interviews and direct observation. This is the merit of questionnaire and schedule. But many times, some of the important information we can miss in questionnaire and schedule, which we can't miss in direct observation or interviews. So both the methods, both the tools are having their own merits and demerits, and these should be used wisely. Second thing, analysis of questionnaire and schedule is relatively easier than first three uh, options we are having: direct observation, personal interviews, or telephonic interviews. In that case, analysis nowadays we are having software for these direct observation interviews also. Through computer software also we can analyze, but still it is very difficult to go for analysis for qualitative data. In case of questionnaires and schedule, we can have quantitative data which can be easily analyzed. Okay, so we have discussed fine. Data entry. See, we can collect data through interview, direct observation, or questionnaire or schedule. Yeah. So once data is collected, we need to enter the data. Nowadays, we are using computer software for data analysis. Before we go for data analysis, data entry is important. And more than data entry, we have to focus on legacy and validity check. While we collect data, many times we commit mistakes in collecting data. Data is not consistent. There are some errors. So these errors must be removed before data analysis. Otherwise, our result will be biased. So data collection through structured questionnaire or schedule need to be processed, coded, tabulated, and validated. Coded Coding means we can have numbers for each and every option. Then we can tabulate, summarize. Earlier, nowadays tabulation is easy. Manually tabulation was very difficult. Validation means that each in every record and data is valid, having internal consistency. There is no inconsistency between respondents' responses. For direct observation and personal interviews, diary or video recording should be checked for validation. See, in case of interviews and direct observation, wherever possible, we should try to get video recording, because non-verbal communication, gestures, postures, everything makes sense. And many times we can read their non-verbal communication part, and we can get confidence that whatever response we are getting from respondents, these are genuine. Computer software like SPSS in Atlas may be used for data entry and validation. SPSS is statistical package for social science. It is widely used for social science, especially for statistical techniques. And Atlas is for qualitative analysis. So nowadays people are using, so that gives help and support for our research effort. Now, analysis of data. Critical examination of assembled and grouped data. See, data analysis is a very important part, and analysis must be limited to the objectives we already defined. Many times, what do? We have lot of data. We get big questionnaire, and we get so many arrays of data, and we try to use each and every data for our effort analysis. So it is not required. Whatever objectives we are having, pinpointed objectives, we should have pinpointed analysis just against the objectives of the research. Tasks requiring maximum skills. See, analysis requires some skills. If we lack skills, we should upgrade our skills. And one more thing, many times what happens, people want to get analysis outcome in a desired manner. It is not good to have some prejudices that yes, these should be results should be in such a way. Whatever analysis outcome is coming, that we have to honestly report in future. Selection of tools of analysis. Which type of tool we are going to use? So many statistical techniques we can use, so many tests we can use. So we have to understand, and most importantly, whatever analysis we are going to make at this stage, we should have in mind while we are going to devise our questionnaire. Because if any particular techniques you are going to use and your questionnaire had no questions for that type of analysis, so at this stage you can't do anything because you have done field work already. So before field work, your questionnaire or schedule should be up to mark so that we can facilitate analysis. Irrelevant analysis should be avoided. Already discussed. Computer aided research analysis of great help. Nowadays we are having computer softwares. This helps a lot in analysis. But one thing we should keep in mind that analysis we are getting in fractions of second, thousands of table in SPSS, and many times these are not required. See, these packages can give output, but whether this output is meaningful or not, that we have to understand. So SPSS can give you output for statistics, but whether that statistics is meaningful, we have to understand. So using any uh, computer software, we have to understand first the basics of that software or the techniques what we are going to use. See, we can't take the average of color of an article. So we have to understand. One thing I think we missed, see, whenever we are collecting data, there are measurement scales, nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, ratio scale. So which type of scale will be used for which type of analysis, that we have to understand. Nominal, for example, nominal scale, we can simply report in percentage. We can't do any other kind of analysis. In case of ordinal, we can go for rank correlation. In case of interval scale, we can have all possible research because it is just like a natural number, artificial natural number. And in case of ratio scale, we can have lot of statistical analysis. So we should have clear cut understanding of questions in our questionnaire. Questionnaire is very important tool and it should have perfection while you are going in field work, because once you are done with field work, you can't go again field work easily. So there should not be any mistake. Hypothesis testing. After analysis, researcher tests for acceptance or rejection of hypothesis. Here, deliberately, I mentioned acceptance or rejection. See, I already discussed that alternative hypothesis and null hypothesis are complementary, not opposite. So technically, if we say acceptance, it's wrong. Either we reject hypothesis or fail to reject hypothesis. So that we have to bear in mind in case of statistical hypothesis. Now we should understand what are the statistical tests available. Researchers are very keen to use so many types of statistical tests. But suppose if we are having census, then these all tests, statistical tests, can't be performed. It does not mean then research is worthless. You simply report in percentage, it's best research. If we have done census and we reported in percentage without any test, because in case of census we can't have any test, so it is best research. So we should not keep in mind that so these tests if we use, then our research is better. It's not like that. So these are the some tests we can perform in case of sampling if we have done sampling. But see, one thing we should keep in mind: we many times we can perform these tests, but we don't go for checking suitability of these tests. Most of the times we perform test parametric test without knowing that whether our data is normal or not. So whenever we are going to perform parametric test, we should understand that our data is normal. In that case only you can go for t-test, f-test, correlation, regulation. These are meaningful. Otherwise you can't go for that. Some other tests you can see ANOVA, factor analysis, conjoint analysis, discriminant analysis, structural equation modeling. So these tests are classified into grounds. One is either parametric or non-parametric. Second is either it is univariate or bivariate or multivariate. So regression is very common for multivariate analysis. And this is latest the structural equation modeling also regression and factor analysis is a mix of two. So these tests we should use whether it is required for fulfilling objective or not. Then only we can go for statistical analysis. Generalization and interpretation. See, in previous slides we discussed that we always take a particular area, maybe geographical, maybe some other dimension for our research effort, a particular research effort. So in that case, we have collected data for that particular area. Can we generalize it to a broader area? And if we can, then to what extent? Suppose we collected data for a particular district. Say, for example, it is one district in Kerala, Mallapuram. Can we generalize to whole Kerala our findings, or we can generalize to whole India, or we can generalize to whole world, or we can generalize to whole universe? So it is generalizability. So generalizability depends that what methods we adopted and what was our sampling, and to what extent it's related to other areas or fields. So generalizability sometimes it is limited. Now if we go back to what three types of research, that one is causal research, and then descriptive research, and then exploratory research. So exploratory research has highest generalizability. Descriptive, it's moderate, and in case of causal, it is limited. Now, our interpretation can develop a theory. It can test a theory. It can criticize the theory. So outcomes may be in any form according to our objectives. If research is started with no hypothesis, findings may be related to some existing theory interpretation. Now, this is very important step, preparation of thesis or report. Sometimes we write research paper. In that case, slightly different structure we can follow, but we are discussing about thesis or a project report, research project report. Preliminary pages you can see title, date, acknowledgement, forward, table of contents, list of tables, graph, chart, abbreviations. So these are the preliminary 10 20 pages where we complete these things. Then comes main text. See, in every research effort, these five uh, component are must for any research effort: introduction, review of literature, research methodology, data analysis, findings, conclusion, and recommendation. See, introduction gives background to the conceptualization of the problem. Review of literature, it is review of all the relevant literature in a specific field where we are going to uh, conduct our research. And research methodology having all research design, sampling, methods of data analysis, everything. Data, in case in this segment, data analysis, we do our actual data analysis, and after that we go for finding, conclusion, and recommendation, if any. Bibliography is complete list of resources which we refer directly or indirectly to complete our research effort. And in case of appendices, we can have large tables which we are not interested in showing in main content, or a questionnaire or some other relevant material which we referred in completing our report. Now, the last we want to discuss some of the features of good research. Objectivity. Objectivity means that we should not have any biasness, personal bias. Whatever we should have, whatever we are going to study, each must study that thing only. So it is objectivity. When we have personal biasness, then we say it's subjective in nature. Accuracy. See, research must be accurate. If it is not accurate, it can lead to so many problems. Precision. Precision means that whatever we are going to study, that thing we have to study. We should not uh, broaden our area. Systematic. Systematic, we always know that involving so many steps. So these steps should be taken well care of. Any step, if we pay less attention, we can deviate, and it will result in a faulty research, in defective research. Logical. We must not miss any logical paradigm. See, if we can't derive logical inferences through research, our research is useless. Control. See, uh, we should have full control over research process, research steps. Generalizability. The more generalizability in research, the better research is. So if we can generalize in a broader spectrum, so then this research is good. Free from bias. There must not be any biasness in our reporting. If we are having biasness, or we are having any prejudice, or we are trying to give opinion instead of actual findings through research, then research is defective. We should avoid these things in our research effort. Reproducible means if any person take same method, same area, everything same, and again do research, the result should be similar with our research. And if means our research is defective. So these are the things in a good research. So this is all about this presentation. Thank you so much. If you're having any question, you can raise now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for this wonderful session. There are some questions from participant side. I want
Sure,
to
sir.
ask Vijay Pratap Singh to kindly unmute their microphone and ask their question. Mr. Vijay Pratap Singh, sir. I think there is some issue from their side. I won't I would like to uh, tell you about their question. They asked about that, sir, what is the importance of folk tales while interviewing someone? What
What
is
is
the
the
importance
importance
of
of?
folk tales? Uh, if you can see in this chat box, the question is there.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll see one by one.
Yeah, there are two questions, one from Vijay Pratap Singh and one is from Yogesh Chaudhary.
Hmm, hmm.
Yes, sir.
See, folk tales, when we go for qualitative research, in that case, folk tales can give insight which can be helpful in our analysis. When we go for qualitative research, we are always open for data inputs from respondent side. Unlike a structured questionnaire, in structured questionnaire, we ask predefined questions and they give that answer only. But here, narratives by respondents are very important. So these folk tales should be taken from respondents. It will surely help in qualitative research. Next one is question on.
There is a question from Mr. Yogesh Chaudhary
Hmm.
in the
Yes,
chat box.
yes, yes, how one can proceed for data collection case study type of PhD. Okay, case study. See, case study is something where we don't go for sampling. Single respondent unit is case. So in that case, you should have everything with you from that case and never take any case in your objective from where you are not in the position to get data. For example, suppose I take case study of Ministry of Defense. So most of the data I may not get. And if in that case it is difficult to get data. So we should keep in mind that this case is something from where we can get data easily. Because in case of sampling, if one respondent is not giving answer, we can switch to another. But in case of case study, this scope is not there. Only one unit is there. So we should be very careful while we are taking a particular case for study. Yes. So this is important at that time. Otherwise, you may stuck in future. And of course, when you are going for case study, try to build up rapport with your respondent. Try to visit personally. Telephoning interview don't give good response. When we send online questionnaire, hardly 10% response is there. But if you go directly, personally, physically, see, people are having emotions and sentiments. Once we go by person, they definitely will entertain you if they will have time. And we should visit by that time when they are free. Suppose someone is working business person, if you visit by the time that particular person, that shopkeeper is responding to customers, so by that time simply that fellow will deny. So you have to reach in person and time convenient for them.
Sir, he is asking in addition that he is doing his PhD research on wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, but during
Hmm.
COVID-19, it's hardly
Hmm.
possible to visit national parks and sanctuaries personally. Then in this case, he's asking about that whether he take which kind of approach he should take, like to ask with questionnaires or schedule interview or personal interview or telephonic interview, or he should follow the mix of all what he can do in this case of COVID-19 pandemic time.
What is the subject? I'm not getting
He is doing
subject of it.
his PhD research on wildlife sanctuaries, uh, working on digitalization of wildlife sanctuaries and national parks.
So it's very interesting topic, but see, secondary data is not, I think, available in for research. So it's always it is advised that if by person data is collected, it's good, because secondary data in this is not available. If it is available, it is not reliable. See, many times government agencies don't give accurate data in support. For example, in Chhattisgarh, government of India is telling that only 10% forest area is there in Chhattisgarh state, and state government is telling we are having 30% forest area. So this 20% variation, which government you will rely on? So now you can understand. So there are certain topics.
Yeah.
It is always better to go for direct observation if possible. Slightly delay will be there in research if time is there for PhD. If it is not, at the last stage, then just wait for a few months and go directly after that. And if time is not permitting, then only one can go for alternative course of action. And in that case, Ministry of Earth, Ministry of so many reports are there, they can refer.
He's asking in addition that because of his about to submit his PhD in
Oh,
coming couple
due
of
date is there.
months. Yeah, due
Okay,
date is
okay.
there. And second, because right now the COVID-19 period is going on, and it's hardly possible to visit the sanctuaries. In this case, he want to collect the primary data. He want to collect the primary data for this purpose only. What process he should follow? Like he
So,
go for the
so,
telephonic interview.
so he should take some support from forestry department, university people. Some of the geography and geology people also can help. So better to take support from experts. They can tell how to go for data collection in such a crisis time.
There is one more question from Dr. Harvinder Singh. What
So,
should be the size of sample for good research?
see, I mentioned in my presentation that if we have census, we
Hmm.
say 90% Indians do this, 10% Indians do that. If we can say like this, it's best.
Hmm.
Suppose the population is, for example, 1.3 Arab in India, for example. If we
Hmm.
take 1.2, it's best sample. If we take only 1 crore, now it's not as good as earlier one. So bigger the sample size, we are more closer to census, and if we are more closer to census, then we will have valid inferences from our sample. So larger sample size should be preferred, but we all know that there are some limitations, scarcity of resources in terms of time, money, human resource. So we have to go for a small sample, but we should try to have maximum sample size. In case of PhD, we can have limited small sample. Even guide also say that 300, 400, or 500 sometimes you take. It's enough because we are learning at that moment. But when we go for actual good research, we should have larger sample size, as large as possible.
There is one more question, sir. Sir, how we can justify the good research? The question is from Mr. Girish Kumar Berwa.
Mhm.
And there is another question that from open end or close ended question, which is most suitable for study? Uh, in this case, I think it depends upon the study, the type of study you are doing, that whether you ask
Mhm.
for open ended or close ended questions.
Exactly. See, good research we already discussed in last slide. Good research must have three components: originality, objectivity, and logical. See, if three essential elements are there, then we can have it substantially good research. And there should not be any methodical flaw. For example, where you should not use random sampling, and you are trying to make random sampling in any way because our guide or some expert are saying random sampling is good, so we should go for random sampling. If sample frame is not there, you should go for convenience sampling. Suppose you are doing to complete one research for HIV positive people, how can you get sample? In that case, you have to go for histowall sampling. Somehow you identify one person that who is HIV positive. That fellow can refer, yes, these are the people I know, these are also positive. So that way, research, there is nothing like good or bad. We should not have any methodical or a technical flaw in our research. Then research is good. Now, second question: open end or close end. See, there are some merits with both. Open ended, if we have energy, we have time, we have everything, we have patience to wait for result for a longer period. So open ended is better. On the contrary, if we don't have time, if can't put large effort for research, we can't have patience, we are running short of time, because many times it happens we have done nothing and after 3 months we have to submit our thesis. What can be done? So in that case, if we go for uh, open-ended, analysis will be difficult. Why you might have seen some of the people, economics, commerce, management, they are doing a lot of research, so many papers, because they are using quantitative data, they're using close-ended data, and it can be analyzed easily with less effort. So merit with close-ended is that we are doing analysis easily and conveniently. But merit with open-ended is that we are getting relevant inputs from respondent as well. Because there may be some important things which we can miss in our plan. These people, respondents by themselves, can point out that this is very important. So these are the things with closed and open-ended questions.
Sir, one last question we will take here, and then we process for the
One
next.
one one participant asked something about government data effect out research.
Okay.
It's always advised that when we are doing research for a degree, our research should be different. And once we are independent researcher, we can go many steps further. So safe play is advised when we are doing research for a degree. We should we should not go against for government data or government policy in any way. It may create problem for our research. Okay, sir. Tell
Sir,
me.
one last question is there. Uh, is there any method by which we can determine or estimate sample size?
Statistical formulas are there for sample. Anyone can go through any statistical book. Formulas are there. Sampling based on sampling error and population size. Population size and sampling error. We are having formula. So if we enter value, we can get sample size. Many times sample size is quite large. It's not possible to go for that level of sample size. So it depends on resources, that how much we can interview, how much respondent we can uh, collect data from. So formulas are there, statistical formulas are there. If we use that formula, that is safe. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. I hope we have given all the answers of all the queries. And really, sir, it was a very wonderful session. We
And
have
moreover,
yes, sir.
if any participant can feels any problem in actual research, one can contact me through email also. because
Sure, sir.
45 minutes is very limited time to give complete insight, and topic is very vast. Research process is a vast topic, so many things are still has to be explored. Anytime they can contact.
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Thanks for this wonderful session. Uh,
Yes, sir.
uh, Now, there is one more last question arrived from Mr. Yogesh Chaudhary. If you want to entertain that question, sir, you can go for that. After that, we will go for our next resource person, Dr. Om Prakash, sir, is live there. Sir, there is a
Can
question:
we
can we
use
use
Morgan
more
table? Morgan
for
table, actually, I
determining
don't
sample
have any
size?
idea about this Morgan table. I never heard this. So please use some other resources for this table. Sorry for that.